case I see the comments.
Okay. Hello, everybody. We are live.
Yay.
It's 7:15. I was about to say we're live 1 minute early, but we're not. It's 7:15. We're live at 7:15. We're going to wait a couple minutes for people to hop on because I know the time is a little different, and that's okay because we roll with the punches. But today, I've got Mr. O'Brien again. Oh, no, I hear myself. I sound funny.
I turned it off.
That's why I don't watch myself again because one person's watching it must be you. You know what? There's people.
I bet you we're going to get 12. Let's go over under. I'm going to say 12.
Okay.
No, that's my over under. What's yours?
13. 15.
Big risk taker there.
Oh, I'm one of those risk takers. Me. We got 4 people on. Hi, everybody. Say hello.
Gabby watching, Carlos watching.
Oh, yay. Say hello when you're tuning in. Welcome to the TNL Show. If you don't know what that means, that's the TrYumph Nation Live. I am your host, Hollie O'Brien, and I have a special guest. Is it this way? Mr. O'Brien here again. You got to put up with us again, both of us. So what should we do next week? Should we do another cooking show next week? What do you guys want to see? What do you guys want to learn about?
Yeah, put in the comments as you join.
Let us know what you want to learn about and say hello. Tonight, we're actually talking about something I talked about earlier today. And we're going to be unpacking the challenges of grief and loss because we are in it together. Guys, here's the deal. We know a lot of you very personal on a very personal level. And we know a lot of you guys are dealing with grief. And grief comes in many forms, which Mr. O'Brien's done some amazing research, and I love that about him. And he'll be talking about the different types of grief that people deal with, because it's not just grief as in loss of a loved one, right? That is absolute grief. There's also grief of losing your job, a grief of losing your identity, losing a pet. What other ones are there? Did I miss one?
Losing
home,
losing a piece of property, maybe a storm that robs you of your personal possessions, of family memories, family heirlooms.
I had a friend that her storage unit was destroyed, so that's a grief of memories. So
a storage unit that Dumas, that's French for dumbass, myself, forgot to make a payment on my storage unit that had lots of stuff in it, and if you don't do that, they liquidate it and auction it, and that was a sad state of affairs. But I have much more compelling examples of grief, personal grief, that I'd be happy to share. I'd like to shout out to Karen Walsh and Amy Spencer, Nicole. I see y'all joining. Thanks for joining in. We're talking about grief, and Hollie's going to tee this discussion up, but we'd love for you to participate if you feel open to sharing, either in the comments. Well, only in the comments, I guess.
Well, we had earlier, I don't know if you've had a chance to watch the Shift Happens show earlier, but if you're interested in what we're talking about right now, I also did an interview with someone who lost his wife to cancer. And he actually just has gone through walking with someone who just lost their wife to cancer. And he's helping equip this person because when grief happens, oftentimes you're not prepared for it. Some people can prepare for things, but sometimes you can't prepare for it. So we did talk about that, and that really led to this conversation. And I'm excited you guys are here. So in the chat, let us know, have you dealt with grief with anything in your life? Put grief in the chat. And the reason I'm doing this because I want you guys to know Shift Happens was amazing. Is that Norm? Norm asked a really good question.
No, that was Nicole Noriega.
Oh, yay, Nicole. So
Melissa O'Brien has joined. Amy Spencer, welcome to you,
ladies.
All.
So what was I saying? Shoot.
CJ's on.
And the reason I want people to put grief in the chat is I want you to know that you're not alone. there are a lot of people that have dealt with grief or are in the middle of dealing with grief. So Matt's actually going to talk about a couple different types of grief and give you guys some resources that will help you. And one of the things that Norm had actually asked on the interview from earlier today, he's like, how do you deal with grief when you feel like you could have done more? When you feel like, oh, I could have done more than what I did. And his answer was amazing. His answer was, here's the deal. Unless you were a specialist in, let's say someone passed away from sickness, unless you were a specialist in that industry and you were a doctor and you're working on that person, more often than not, it's the lies in your head telling you that you could have done more and you actually couldn't have, right? It's the lies that we tell ourselves that, the perspectives that it keeps us living in that over and over again. Like, I could have done more. I could have done more. That's our brains playing tricks on us, right? And let's say you could have done more. Worst case scenario, let's say you could have done more. That's the point where you have to forgive yourself. You have to go through the steps of, this is what happened, and I have to forgive myself. And I have to be able to move on and do something good with it. Do something good with the knowledge you have now on something that you could have done more. So I thought that was really powerful. It's basically let go and let God. And he did go into more detail. So if you're interested in that Shift Happens show, let me know and I can always point you in the right direction. But without further ado, Mr. O'Brien, I know you've done some amazing research on this topic, and you do deal with a lot of people at our gym who have dealt with grief, and you've walked through that with people. And we have some clients recently that you've walked through, and you've had personal experiences. So really, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with personal experiences? Do you want to start with, what's on the top of mind for you to start?
Well, I mean, personally, dealing with grief in various forms, when you're going through it at the time, you don't really analyze it or comprehend it or even be self-aware that it's grief. But I know progressively, if you deal with or you don't deal with grief properly, the next time you deal with it, it creates this compounding effect. And so I'm hoping, if nothing else, I can share some experiences that I had, and working through self-forgiveness, I think, was probably the biggest challenge for me in a situation that happened in high school. And it took me 20 years really to forgive myself. And I just wonder how many things, by not dealing with it sooner and working through that process and getting help, did it alter the course of my life? I will not trade anything that I have now. So I'm thankful that I went through all that. But I also wonder, like, wow, what things did I miss out on because my mental state and what I was capable of achieving that I didn't achieve because I was really in a hole in a lot of ways. And just going through it personally and learning through the process. So one example that is a little atypical is at the Air Force Academy. In 7th grade, we visited Air Force Academy as a family on a summer trip. And literally, I don't know what came over me, but I made it a goal then and there, standing at the overlook, looking over the beautiful campus and the big chapel that's, world famous, and said, this is my goal. I want to go to the Air Force Academy to fly, serve my country. And I really honestly believe God physically designed me as a prototypical fighter pilot. And, it was kind of, I don't want to say it was a joke, but it was kind of a thing with me and my best friends at the academy that my autobiography was going to be titled "To Die for Your Country," because I just thought how noble it would be to, be willing to pay the ultimate sacrifice. And I just felt that was my purpose in life. And it took me an extra year to get in, a lot of sacrifices and time away from my family to get there. And then after my second year, they do a pilot qualification physical. And I found out I couldn't fly. And so for the past 8 years or 7.5 years, I had this direction in my life that I was going to be a fighter pilot in the Air Force, and all the sacrifices. And the Air Force Academy is freaking hard. I'll just admit that. And all the things I was doing and then to find out all of a sudden in an instant, I just remember going to the physical, and then they referred me to an optometrist, and he just gave me the bad news, like, sorry, you have this little muscle in your left eye, and that's going to disqualify you from flying. And it was like I was in shock. But then I drove back from the clinic to the dorms on top of the hill, and then I just remember sitting in my car and just crying for half an hour and just releasing that to some degree, and then confronting the reality that I couldn't do my dream. And it was really like that was stolen from me. And in a lot of ways, grief is, you feel like something's stolen, whether it was that goal I had, or maybe it's somebody you love, or even a family pet that you just grew up with and love, and or maybe it was your house or something, the things that we talked about earlier. It all manifests in similar ways, and I never, because of that, I never ever discounted the grief somebody's experiencing by like, okay, they lost a dog, so what? No, I mean, to each individual, the feelings are the same. And the 4 types of grief, just to put them in categories, are feelings, your physical reactions. It can literally manifest in your body as hormonal changes, catecholamines, all these things that biochemically affect our bodies can change. And I've seen clients going through intense breakups or divorces, or losing someone. In some cases, they gain a bunch of weight. And I've seen in cases where they lost, like I had a weight loss client that it took me 2 years to help him lose 40 pounds. And then something happened in a relationship, and he lost 40 pounds in like 40 days. It was crazy. So everybody has those physical reactions, and then there's cognitions or thoughts. And those can, that can be what holds you back in lots of ways from truly living if you don't work through the grief process. And then finally, behaviors. And that's where I know my behaviors were very significantly altered from things I was dealing with, that scenario, as well as, abandonment issues, with going through, at 13, my parents' divorce, and then the situation in high school that happened that took me a long time to forgive. And just because somebody else is involved, I don't talk about the exact details of that, just because it involves somebody else in their privacy. But, all those things, just manifest. And I know in dealing with 3 other experiences of grief, like the compounding effect. And then ultimately, as I've shared with Hollie and some of my close friends, I had a situation. I had a girlfriend break up that was like a year of grief because it wasn't something I wanted. And I was really looking forward to a life with this person. And then the next thing was dedicating pretty much almost 3 years of my life and a lot of time, effort, energy, and sacrifice building a sales organization for a company with the potential for extreme financial reward. And just to put some numbers on it, and I just shared this story with some people this weekend with our team. We had our whole team over, which was awesome. Amazing team at TrYumph. If you're a TrYumph member, Hollie was there, and just the amazing team we have I'm so excited. But so I was kind of sharing some stories with them, but I had, a lot of time, effort, and sacrifice. Like I said, building a company, I had 27 people that I personally hired and trained. And we had this machine running, much like I have at TrYumph now. Just really the potential was there. And I had over $360,000 of commissions that I earned in the pipeline. And what I didn't realize, if you lose your job, you lose your pipeline. But I was wrongfully terminated by a superior that I was probably going to replace him in his job because I was outperforming him. So I think he felt threatened as I was rising to the top as this young regional manager, and not knowing that at the time, I went through the process. And then when I found out, a week and a half later that, I was already like, okay, I'll just take that and, take this money and do what I was planning on doing, which was opening up TrYumph Nutrition, the store version, and had to confront the reality that that dream was also wiped away. And all the time and effort that I justified was for the financial reward to open up my own store at some point in the future was wiped away. So 2 times in my life, having a dream wiped away, that second time really manifested as a year of zero emotion, which I wouldn't wish on anybody. It might sound appealing versus dealing with grief, but no sadness, no anger, no happiness, no joy, no anger, just this year of just not feeling alive. And there are some good things that came through that process, just trying to work through it. But I just remember the first day I was out standing on my balcony in Miami or in Aventura, and the sun was rising, and I was listening to this song called Thank You, and just feeling
you're the opposite. No emotion.
I felt like, God, the sun is beautiful. And I felt joyful in that moment. And then this overwhelming tidal wave of emotion, because I just realized I felt something for the first time in over a year. And then, then I just was overcome with emotions. And then I started crying. I was like, I'm happy. I'm so crying right now because I felt something. And so it's an intense process, and that helps me relate and understand and be empathetic and compassionate with people going through it. And like Hollie said, I had a client that I was training the husband and the wife, and he was diagnosed with glioblastoma, which is a terminal sentence of typically 3 to 5 months. And from what, I knew with that particular cancer and low glycemic or ketogenic diet, which he somewhat adhered to, and the resources they had, he was able to extend his life by 19 months. But just walking through that with both of them, and then ultimately losing him, and just watching her grief process for the next 2 years, and even now 3.5 years removed, she still has those moments where she'll remember something, or but it took her a lot of years to get through. So it's a process, and everybody deals with it differently. And we'll talk about some tools that can help you. And I wish I had these tools or awareness of them, but they're general concepts that everybody can use in
Here's
grief.
one I want to pull up. I want to pull this up really fast. I feel like this right here is a lot of people. So grief causes me to feel tired. And what's shocked me more is my thoughts about the future feeling so dim and depressing. I don't like it, but I struggle to see the future as bright. So I don't know who this is on here because it says Facebook user, but just so you know, we want to provide you with hope. And
it's Karen.
Karen.
It's Karen. I can see comments on my phone. So
okay. Well, Karen,
we lost her mom recently, and that's the next grief story that I was going to share with somebody I lost, but it's tough.
You're not alone, Karen. And we love you. Oh my gosh, this is why we do what we do. This is why we started TrYumph Nation. This is why we do the weekly shows. We want you guys to know we hear you. And I'm hoping what Matt continues to talk about can help you there. So I just wanted to pull that up really quick. And then the opposite of feeling numb can be feeling numb of just existing in space is terrible, and there's people that have the opposite where they are feeling everything and then feeling nothing.
Yeah. And a lot of times you feel isolated, and it's because nobody's going to understand what I'm going through. And you're right. But one of the tools that I want to share with you are called the 3 C's. And it can help you work through the grief process. And, this is obviously just it takes time and energy and commitment, but let's go through them one at a time, and then maybe we can bring up some specific examples. But the first one is, so the 3 C's, the first one is choose. And you have to kind of choose what's best for you. And if you're a giver, if you're a mom or a parent, or you're used to just kind of everybody else or everything else comes first, it can be a challenge. But this is those situations that, in hindsight, looking at some of the situations I went through, like you want to just push it behind you or push it back, push it on the back burner, just repress it, don't talk about it. And ultimately, you're not really going through the grief process. And what happens from my personal experience is just resurfaces again with a compounding effect, meaning like interest when you invest money and it compounds and grows faster than it would be like just putting in $1 at a time. That's the incentive to go through the process. And first step is kind of choosing what's best for you and what that looks like. The second C is connect. And this is what we're so adamant on and passionate about, is creating community. Why we have TrYumph Nation, why we have TrYumph Fitness, why we do meetups, and we're doing what I feel like is a good job, but we can always do better. But it's always part of our mission statement to create community events, so that we can create that connection. So, the last thing, and this is hard to understand because every part of your being wants to isolate yourself and just kind of deal with it personally. Speaking for males, like, we want to be tough. We want to be Superman. We don't, like, we're immortal. Like we don't stumble, like nothing can break us. Those are the things. So we kind of repress it and we try to move on without really dealing with it. So connection can be helpful. And then the next thing ties into that, and that's communicate. So those are the 3 C's: choose, connect, communicate. And communicating is letting other people know what you need.
Yeah.
It means being vulnerable. It means communicating that you need their support, or you don't need them to tell you anything. Like, I know, talking to a lot of people and going through it myself, a lot of times the last thing you need is advice when you're grieving. Like, hey, just get over it. Or, hey, just shake it off, walk it off, go work out. You'll forget about it. So you have to communicate your needs. Your needs would be, hey, I just want you to be with me. I don't want you to say anything. and they may not receive that well, but a true friend or a true family member will understand. And just that physical presence, that connection, can help you work through the feelings and those physical reactions and thoughts and behaviors that you're dealing with. And I'm looking back on my own situation. I really didn't deal with that in my first 3 issues or episodes with grief. And then my fourth one, which is actually losing someone I love dearly. We'll call him Papa. Well, his name was Papa Bill to us. It was my mom's second husband. And, somebody I, in a lot of ways, valued more and loved more than my own father, because of those abandonment issues, dealing with the divorce and just the relationship that and the love that he gave to my mom and companionship and everything he did. And, it was the beauty of it all was every Thanksgiving when my family gets together every Thanksgiving. And I'm so thankful for that. My brothers, sisters, my mom, and all the grandkids, her grandkids. And every year he went out of his way when we do our family toast that he was thankful for another year that my mom gave him, because everybody else in his family died in their 50s. And so even though he died from a peaceful and sudden heart attack at 72, in his mind, that was, almost 20 extra years of life and love that he got to experience. And his gratitude was what I've chose to focus on in the grieving process. And what was really helpful for me, my mom asked me if I would make a tribute video for his celebration of life. And, doing that, which, it was something that consumed me for about 4 straight days. And I was just crying, and just every picture and video I was watching. And I got to live through those moments. And I was aware, having not dealt with it properly, like, I'm going to use this as my grieving process. And just in making that tribute video, I was able to really grieve, and just, I let the emotions flow. I talked to I connected. I told my family, I told my mom, we talked about it. And it was so much more healthy in the way that I was able to get through it, and just have amazing thoughts. Yeah, I still miss him, and we still remember him on his birthday, which is the same day as our anniversary, my wife and I's anniversary. And we still toast to him every Thanksgiving. And, his legacy will never be forgotten. So, those 3 C's with experience, helped me get through, probably what could have been the most challenging grief, because I was worried about my mom being alone. And to her credit, like, she, was amazing in her grief and in her ability to move forward and move on and move and to her entire life to Las Vegas to be with my sister, who has all the youngest kids, and gave her purpose and passion outside of losing, the man of her dreams.
What I love that you said is you were able to grieve through the beautiful experiences and the memories that you had. And the gentleman that I interviewed earlier today, that's actually how he did the grieving process with his children. So when his wife passed away, children were young, and they saved a phone of hers, and the children would hear about her life and stories and videos, and be able to hear from her and be able to ask questions, Daddy, what is this about? Or Daddy, and they got to still, their mom was still a part of their life. So I thought that was a great suggestion. I was like, wow, they knew that she was going through transition, as he said, to be with our Heavenly Father. And he knew the transition was coming. So they prepared for it, and they had videos. And I just thought that was so beautiful. So it's a great suggestion. If anyone does know, are you going through something, talking about them. And the one thing he said, we talk about her. She's a part of our life, not in the perspective of thinking of all the grief and the sadness, and not in the perspective that she's gone, but the perspective of she lived and all the experiences that they had that she lived. So one of the beautiful things is you get to look at it differently, from a different perspective, especially when the 3 C's. You get to choose, right? Choose what your perspective is, and choose, what's best for you and how you want to go through the grieving process. But I would challenge you or encourage you that something like that could very well help you with the grieving process, especially if you've stuffed it all down and you're numb, or if you stuffed it all down because you don't want to feel the pain anymore. Living in the life that they had. I'm only saying this because of what people have experienced and what they've done with it. So I thought that was beautiful that you were able to experience that with Papa Bill. I got to meet Papa Bill. So, we talk about him, and the kids know about him. And when pictures come up on Facebook, we talk about it, and, we celebrate his life, and that's been really helpful.
When the other side of grief is when somebody you know or love or care about, a family member or a close friend, is going through grief themselves. That experience has been really powerful. And Hollie could also share that we've had experiences. One was a client, like brand new client, like she had been at TrYumph for about 2 months, and I was really, creating that relationship with her. And then she had her beautiful daughter. She was, she called her Sunshine, 5 years old. Was in pain, and they went and saw the doctor at the doctor's office, and he said, well, like, monitor, send her home. If she gets, her temperature goes over 105 or 104, take her to the emergency room, give her this. And so this night she went home, and her daughter was screaming in pain, and her stomach started swelling, and so they went to the emergency room at like 7 or 8 in the morning. And by that time she was septic, and she passed away at like 10 a.m. And I know, God, how devastating that was. Losing someone, being parents. And I want to circle back to how that affected me and Hollie, I'm sure too. And then we had another friend, in January, late January, found out their son was having some weird headaches, and he was like 6 years old, and ultimately had this rare brain tumor. And from late January, when they found out that he had headaches, to beginning of March, he was gone. And watching both those couples, families dealing with that loss of such a young child, and I feel like I want to circle back to how it affects me, but in that process, just watching how they dealt with it differently. And one, I really feel like used these tools and was able to move on and embrace it. And one, I think just it kind of stopped them from living. And she had other children too. But me personally, it makes me just, every day, thank God that my 2 boys are healthy. And, every second we have with them, it makes me appreciate that, because you're never guaranteed any time, So for me, it's like using those situations to live in gratitude that we talk about a lot, because and that goes back to choosing. I choose that because you can choose joy in any storm. That's a storm I wouldn't. Hollie and both talked about this. Like, I don't know if I could get through that storm, quite frankly. So, not just thanking God every morning that I don't have to go through it. So, that's how it helps me with grief somebody else deals with. Choose gratitude for my own life and being thankful. And we've shared, like, almost losing our business, like them sequestering all our money last year, other things like that doesn't affect me. I'm like, I am so thankful I have my wife and my kids. Take everything physically away, I don't care. So that's how you can have joy in the storm, or as I like to say, make lemonade out of lemons. But grief is intense. I'm getting emotional just thinking about those situations for those people. And when we found out in both situations, Hollie and I, it wasn't our kids, but we were both crying and just understanding how hard that must be.
Yeah, and I like that you talked about, sometimes when people go through grief, all we want to do is try to fix things. And if you're just hopping in, we're talking about grief, and people just want to fix it, and being open and honest and communicating with people what you need. So people that are watching right now and you're going through grief, or you are stuck in that grief process, let people around you know. I know it's hard, but I promise you they will thank you for it. Because sometimes you just need to let someone know, because they don't know. You don't know what you don't know. And if they're able to walk with you and give you that peace and that comfort and that connection by just letting them know, like, hey, you know what? I don't need you to fix this. I just need you to sit with me. That could finally give you the healing process that you need, that little bit of growth that you need to heal. So let people around you know what you need, and give them grace too, because you know what? Some people just don't know how to react in hard situations. They don't know how to communicate in hard situations. So I would just encourage you to just let people know and communicate.
And Nancy, thank you for attending. She said she has to go. And Karen says she loves this. Thank you for doing this. Josh joined us. Sunny, Kaylin joined us.
Topic that we wanted to shed some light. And Matt's actually going to go through. He went over the 3 C's: choose, connect, communicate. And connecting with people is helpful. And I'm so happy you're here. The ones that are connecting and being open and vulnerable. And definitely keep connecting with us more, because that's what we're here for.
Yeah, and I think as hard as it is sometimes, and just talking through those stories, I still get emotional. But I know the more I choose and connect and share, like, it helps me process those feelings. And like, you get reciprocation and love and understanding, and it just helps the healing process. So, and everybody's individually gonna take a different pace, different time, but I'm hoping nothing else I can share. The takeaway is definitely don't try to do it alone. Connect at least with somebody you link with or identify with, or I think Holly would vouch for me and says I'm a good listener. I will lend you my ears, my arms to hug you anytime that you need to talk, whether you want to do it on Zoom or in person if you're local. All you have to say is, hey, Matt, I need to talk. I need somebody to talk to, whatever. I will make the time, because I know how important it is. And if you're that vulnerable or willing to reach out, that's why we do what we do. So, this is a tough topic, but we did get some comments and requests about it. So, we wanted to dive into it a little bit. And I do have a resource that I want to share.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a book that you said earlier that may help you guys. So if someone could type it in the chat, because I can't type, this may be a great resource.
Yeah. So, there's lots of books on grief. But this one, I've heard this author on TED Talks, and she's got, a solid foundation. So, book came highly recommended, but it's called Atlas of the Heart. So I'll type that in the comments. And the author's name is Brene Brown. Brene, I may be pronouncing that wrong. It's Brene with a little accent sign. Brown. If you're not a reader, choose Audible. But the challenging part with any goal or anything in life is, it's not going to fix itself. So you kind of have to still do the work, and you're sometimes flying on one, functioning on one cylinder. Like Karen pointed out, you feel tired, you feel lost, you feel destitute, you feel alone. So it's a challenging process. And I can only say that, the time does help. That's cliche, but time does not heal all wounds. But what time allows is, it facilitates those opportunities to choose, connect, and communicate. And we can choose to accelerate the process. So, that's why if you're part of our community, we can be a resource. If you're fortunate enough to have a trusted friend, Holly has several, and I can tell you that she communicates with them when she's going through tough times, and they reach out to her when they're going through tough times, and they mean, and like, they're able to process through difficult things with each other. And so, don't be a hero or a superhero and try to do it by yourself.
Well, we're not meant to do life alone. We've talked about this before. Our brains are actually not meant to sit in this alone. And people want to help you. And I love that, back to communication again, people want to help you. But if they don't know what's going on, they can't help.
Yeah. So, and April, I see, is on too. So I've talked about trauma, which is another thing that a lot of people deal with in their past. And a lot of times, if the trauma is significant enough in your childhood, you've repressed it, you don't even remember it.
Right.
Hollie has a family member that has gone through, a childhood trauma, but there's a great book on that, a little bit different topic. But if you're dealing with trauma or you have in the past, I shared earlier, if you joined us later, about, my parents went through a divorce when I was 13. And, one of the traumas we can go through is abandonment. And that process of divorce led me to move to New York City with my mom and family. And largely my dad, for a situation we talked about more recently, but while I was in my high school years, and he was largely not present, much like children go through parents that are in prison or disappear for whatever reason. So I can say that's probably the biggest trauma I went through as a child, that looking back, like I can see how that affected so much of my adult life, and especially my 20s and up to mid 30s, until I was able to process it and become aware of it. But anyway, I've recommended this to several. I mean, anytime it's applicable, I recommend this book. It's amazing. I've read it twice. It's called Trauma, just the word trauma. And the author is Paul Conti. And I'll put that in the chat too. So if you're dealing with trauma, which can exacerbate the grief that you might be dealing with in that situation, I don't want to overwhelm you with things to do, but it's so worth it, because you can't truly live until we kind of work through these things. And so that's kind of the incentive, the finish line, the goal, by dealing with them and getting help. And Trauma, that book definitely has some recommended resources, how to find help, how to find, counselors, how to vet them, so you're not just dealing with any person that has a shingle on their door. You want to get somebody that can actually help you, because, that's an unfortunate reality of life. So I'll type that in. Callista Zebly. Wow, Callista, how are you doing?
I'm so jealous. I can't see anybody's name.
Yeah.
Next time I'm gonna put it on. I'm so cold. I need to put
your phone with you, but it used to echo.
Well, I have my phone. Yeah, something was weird. I had to put my sweater on. I'm freezing. This was really good. Guys, we have a lot that we can unpack when it comes to grief. And I hope that what we did unpack today was helpful. And let us know in the chat what was helpful. And, definitely reach out to us and let us know what else we can do to help, because that's what we're here for. People that know us is what we're here for. And there's a lot of resources. There's podcasts. There's different things you can listen to, meditations, prayer in the morning. My husband gets on his knees every single morning and praise. And every single night with the kids, we talk about what we're grateful for. The dinner table, we say favorite part of the day, least favorite part of the day, and 3 things you're grateful for. And it's just a habit that we can do, not just with the kids, but with our own life. And journal it. What's your favorite part of the day, least favorite? You're not going to dwell on it. You're just going to put it out there. And then, what are you grateful for? Because that is one of the parts of healing, is being grateful. I'm so happy to see this as part of your program. Oh, yay. I'm glad you guys love it.
It's Karen.
I'm put my jacket on. It's not cold. It's not a jacket. It's a sweater.
Karen's going to be on ABC next week.
What? Why?
Yeah. So
for what?
Her business, and Julie McKenzie just joined. What's up? I hope y'all will take some time to watch this back. We talked a lot and did a deep dive on grief, and I shared some of my personal experiences and some of our clients' experiences. It was kind of emotional, but in a lot of ways, every time I talk about it, it's therapeutic in so many ways. I feel almost like a cleansing process every time I share a story. And in my book, The Magic Pill, which is over my shoulder there, I have a story called Peanut Butter and Jelly Sandwiches. And that was the first time out of 2 times I lost everything and was at rock bottom, and I was down to my last peanut butter and jelly sandwich, literally. And I couldn't ever get through that story without just crying. And now telling it hundreds of times, I I shared it recently with somebody that was staying with us, one of our new employees that we were keeping it, keeping at our house because he flew in for South Carolina. And I was able to get through it without crying. So, it's tough, but it's healing.
You've been through a lot. It's interesting. I'm listening to all the different, like I've heard, of course, we talk about all this, but it's like, Mr. O'Brien, what lessons have you not learned that you need to keep reliving this over and over again?
Yeah, I always feel like I don't know what your faith is, but mine always like God, like, sometimes God gives you a slice of humble pie and sometimes he gives you the whole pie, but it's all to shape me for the skills and purpose that he designed me for. So I embrace those tough times as opportunities to learn and grow. Doesn't make them easier to deal with at the time, but I always have a perspective that it's for the greater good. It shapes who I am and maybe equips me to help somebody. And I can honestly say the situations I've been through helps me be so much more sympathetic and relatable and compassionate to the people I get the opportunity and the blessing to deal with and coach and help, because I've been through it myself, and I feel a little more equipped, at least relatable, to share through their experience.
I was going to say that. So after I said, what do you have to learn? I was like, oh my gosh. I was just like, I had an epiphany. I was like, you know what? I bet you all the things that you have gone through is to help the person who's going through it now. If you don't get the miracle, be one. There's a TikTok that I saw once, a guy with no arms and no legs, and he kept praying that, I want this and I want this, and I'll have to put it in the group. But at the end, he said, I'm like stuttering because it's so emotional. At the end, he goes, if you don't get the miracle, be one. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. And all the things that you've gone through, Matt, I'll take that off. I thought that was beautiful. I don't know who said that, but that was beautiful. All the things that you've been through is so you're able to help other people. So if you guys don't know us and you're watching this or you're in this group and you don't know us that well, here's the deal. Like, we care. And I feel like we've gone through the things we've gone through so we can help you go through the things you either are going through or you're about to go through. And here's the deal. We're not perfect. People may look at Matt and say, oh, well, he's never had to deal with this and this and this. We've both been through some things, and we're open. Our hearts are open to help you go through your things. So I want you to know you're in a safe place. And I've had people tell me things and my husband things. They're like, you didn't even flinch. I was like, no. Oh, no, I'm not going to flinch. There's really not anything you can say for us to flinch. And that's because you're people. Why would I flinch at something you've been through? Because you know what? It's a journey, and it's your journey, and it's a part of your story, and it's a part of your life. And whether you like it or not, it's part of you. And we get to walk through the process of helping you heal, helping you grow, so then you can pay it forward to someone else. And that's what TrYumph Nation is about. So we love you guys. See, I'm going to start getting emotional and crying.
All right. Yeah, we just, if you joined us recently, I know a few people joined. Shout out to Lola and Bella. I haven't seen Bella in a long time. She used to be my favorite person at Publix when we were over at Bardmore. And Karen, thank you for your kind, encouraging words. But we really are passionate about what we do, and we want to create a movement. Like, that's why on the bottom of TrYumph Nation logo there it says join the movement. We want to create a movement, not just to help America get moving, which is definitely the motive behind my book, The Magic Pill, but it's also about healing, growing, awareness, health, happiness, all the things, so we can have our best, longest life, and help those around us and pay it forward, like Hollie said. So that's
sorry.
TrYumph Nation is all about.
I just hopped on and you're done.
What is our time? You can watch it back. It's always here. Perpetuity.
Yeah, we usually do 7 p.m.
Yeah, we also upload these to our YouTube channel, which is TrYumph Nation TV on YouTube. And there's different playlists. There's the TNL Show, and then there's Magic Pill Mondays and the Fat to Fit Challenge. So lots of cool things that we're trying to do to help people. And Hollie's Shift Happens show is turning into a summit.
Yes, I'm so excited. Can I tell them about it?
Yeah, I can give a quick plug, but we'll do a big announcement about that in the coming weeks.
So I've got November 15th. It's going to be recorded, so you don't have to watch it all at once. But I'm having a summit called Shift Happens, and it's Unstuck Yourself, the secrets to going from broken to breakthrough. And I'm going to have 21 experts on each topic. And a lot of the topics that we've talked about during the Shift Happens show and what we talked about the TNL show are actually going to be on my Shift Happens summit. So I'm just the interviewer. So bringing in experts who are the best at what they do, and they're going to help you heal, grow, and pay it forward. So it's a do not miss. You don't want to miss this. So we'll keep you guys posted and give you some more information. And we're really excited to bring this to you guys because I know it's going to impact a lot of people. So Shift Happens.
Yeah, we just had John Mears join, Sam Norman. What's up?
Yeah, Norman.
Boys, gentlemen.
We still got to get together with Brittany.
Yes, we do. Sam.
Well, I'm going to sign off because I told the kids I would read books with them. So I'm going to go read with them.
And just wrapping it up, if you just joined us, I would not beg you, but encourage you to watch it back. If you've dealt with grief or dealing with grief, we covered a lot of really good ground, I feel like, today, and sharing some of my personal experiences with it and how I learned through those processes and how I can now be very relatable to others. But we love everybody in that we get to do life with and serve and coach and just help in any way. But you guys help us so much. And when we've been struggling is when our community has lifted us up in ways that
us. Like literally saved us.
I'm still emotional about all.
We are here today because of all of you guys helping us and coming together. And we do not take that lightly. And we do not forget. Like Matt and I literally talk about this all the time on if we didn't have the community and support that we have had over this crazy journey we call life, I don't know where we'd be. I don't know where we'd be. So
we're right where God wants us to be. Yeah. So
and I'm going to go.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And
yes. If you want to share it with a friend, make sure you invite them to this group and we can share this with them.
Yes. Next week, TNL Show, usually around 7:15. So that's our goal. And we'll try.
Yeah, is the time? Do you think the time frame 7 is good? 7:15, 7:30? We definitely want, some that's easy for people to hop on. Maybe we'll do a poll. I do it at 7.
We should do a poll.
A poll.
You're good at those polls. Put a poll in TrYumph Nation and see what happens.
We do a poll and see what y'all think.
All right. Y'all take care. Thank you for watching and tuning in.
Later, Gator.